Hello guys, and welcome back to End All Wars with our Eastern Entente playthrough. In the first episode, we set up our war plans, I explained some parts of how the game works, and now we've gone and prepared for the first strikes of the entire campaign. We know that Germany is going to be invading through Switzerland into France. We know that Austria is actually putting all their forces on the Russian border, which we did not prepare for. So that's going to be a problem. And in return, as well as my initial historical attacks into Germany, I've also decided to try to go a little offensive with Serbia to try to maybe get the Austrians right in the back for ignoring Serbia, essentially. At least that's the hope. We've already set everything up though, so it's as simple as pressing next turn, crossing our fingers, and hoping the first turn goes well. Hopefully we don't get a swarm of Austrians flooding over the border. At the very least, if they do attack, it will unlock our commanders there earlier than they're actually supposed to be unlocked, which will allow us to counter maybe a bit more effectively early. But here's hoping that they just, play passively and don't start charging across our borders, of course. Even if they just kill some of our militia, I'd rather lose as little as possible on my own soil. Of course, that will be hard to avoid in such a landlocked war. Well, I say landlocked because we're the Eastern Entente. The Western Entente will have a much different game going on. As a reminder, Great Britain is not yet in the Western Entente. I'm just talking while this long-ass loading goes on here. Western Entente does not have Great Britain yet, but they do have Switzerland. Belgium is neutral, as is what's it called? Luxembourg. Now you can't see it on my screen, but the whole screen just fucking went black. So this is clearly loading very differently on the video and on my side. Alright, here we go. We see some movement. Oh, it looks like they're going across the border. Our troops are going across the border. I don't know what the hell that noise is. Yeah, they have more troops up along the border here. These might be trains, carriages. I can't tell zoomed all the way out. A little nervous. Nervous because I know their attacks are coming. German troops are stepping into Russia. They've completely ignored my attacks and just gone right into my territory. What the hell kind of move is that? Which is leaving their own territory undefended. That's quite odd. Let's see what's happening here. Battle for Tannenberg. They did have units here. Power 201. Let's see. Yeah, we have a total power of 697. So it looks like this is such a battle, a rare battle, where two commanders collide of a certain ranking. We can actually pick different combat strategies. Based on what he has here, it's a little bit of artillery and then infantry, no cavalry. So, after looking over my options here, we have massed fire. So this increases unit firepower, but slightly weaker in assault combat. There's two kind of rounds to the combat. A firing round, and an assault round, which is like close combat. This plan is useful to emphasize the fire phase. Useful if defending, so that's not useful for us. Then there's infantry assault, to charge infantry against the enemy, which we have plenty of infantry. Increase infantry assault combat values, but at the expense of lower troop protection, vulnerability to enemy fire. So we're a little more out in the open, but it's good to, as it says, storm weak enemy positions, but it says don't use it against strong enemy positions with lots of entrenched artillery. So that's important. And then there's this middle one I found. Slightly increase regular and elite infantry combat values, but at the expense of slightly lower troop protection, vulnerability to enemy fire. Use this plan to storm weak enemy position, lower combat penalties in case of enemy counter compared to classic infantry charge. So it's kind of like a watered down version of this. Like, it can help for sure, but it won't go as wrong as this could. It doesn't give me any more options except to go with a balanced deployment that cannot fail or be countered. But I'm going to go with the wave assault. Based on what I see here, they don't have a strong position. They're not very well entrenched. They're better commanded than we are. But they don't have a lot of firepower. I do think a wave assault could work out. So let's go to battle. Cross our fingers here. Alright, this is looking like some decent results. We didn't get any of their artillery, which is a shame, but we cut their infantry values in half. We did lose 5,500 men. That's unfortunate, but only a fraction of their losses. 18 guns, which again is unfortunate. 652 cavalry to their no cavalry. All in all, they lost way more than we did in raw infantry, of course. But seeing as that was half of their infantry, and I feel in World War I, you know, your infantry is your strong point, especially in such a situation. We know they can't make any counterattacks. You see, no one's really lost any of their corps or anything. What did they do? So they chose a harass enemy deployment, and they chose to bombard our communications. Let's see, artillery firepower, combat bonus, moderate range combat penalties to our enemy. Oh, thank God I didn't go with the mass fire then. Use this plan to lower casualties from enemy fire with medium and heavy artillery. So it's good that I relied on my infantry then. I guess it could have been even better if I went with the regular infantry assault, but, you know, I made my cautious decision, and it seems to have worked out. So I believe this guy has just fled. So that's a good result. And over here you can see we've walked into this town just unmolested. And now tutorials! That tutorial stuff was just about diplomacy and generally nothing that affects me as the Eastern Entente, having no diplomatic power of my own. Let's take a look at the messages for this turn. So Great Britain shifted 5% alignment towards the Entente, which is pretty notable because now that gets them to 92%. If there's 2 more turns in a row like that, they'll be on our side just like that, which again won't really affect my theater, but the easier of a time the Western Entente's having against Germany, the less likely I am to have to deal with Germany. And seeing as Austria-Hungary's committed to fighting me, and I'm still having to do some fighting of Germany due to my historical commitments to help relieve France, the less Germany ends up sending towards me, the better. Now, I did find it interesting to see here that the Central Powers have also sent a diplomat to Great Britain to try to keep them out of the Entente. Now, Great Britain can never actually join the Central Powers, them and the USA. However, what they can do is try to get them to 100% Central Powers, and then that actually stops them from joining the Entente. For a while, temporarily, maybe the whole game, depends on how much diplomatic stuff you have, but it's also based on these percentages. So every turn, Central Powers has now an 8% chance to actually accomplish something, whereas the Western Entente diplomat has a 92% chance to accomplish something. So I dare say, probably, hopefully, 3 turns tops until we get to see the Great Britain joining the war. What else has happened? France, Russia giving me diplomatic aid. Another 1% pro-Entente sentiment. That's probably from the diplomat himself. I don't know what that 5% was. That must have been some decision someone else made. Pro-Entente sentiment, United States 1%. Neutral sentiment in Holland, unfortunately. Pro-Central sentiment in Ottoman Empire, they're going to be another problem of ours. Oh, that's going to be annoying. Japan moving towards the Entente. Portugal moving... Really? Portugal? No one's even trying to convince you to join the Entente. What happened? Why are you leaning 82% towards the Entente? You were a neutral country. Wow. What's this event that popped up? The British fleet attempted to intercept the German battlecruiser Goeben and light cruiser Breslau. The cruisers evaded the British, passing through yada yada, reached Constantinople. Their arrival was a catalyst that contributed to the Ottoman Empire joining the Central Powers. It can only be played if the Ottoman Empire is still neutral. Okay. Ottoman shifts towards... That doesn't tell me what happened here with Portugal, because I'm pretty confident just 1 turn ago, Portugal was a neutral 50-50 split. The Western Entente must have played some kind of decision or something. I guess something must have happened because now they're pro-Entente. They're 82% towards the Entente. They'll almost definitely be joining us. Central Powers is still working on Holland here, although neutral will be correcting them for a little bit. But it's more than likely that they will end up joining them. Belgium's still doing fine. Greece is still in the center. Okay, cool little update there. We did have a battle. As you can see, we've gone over this. And now he's still here. So I've been going through a lot of my turn now, and I'll show you what I've done. I'm over here on the portion of where I'm going to spend my resources on recruiting. I've gotten about as many resources for this turn as I have last turn. My income is pretty steady. And I know my HQ is going to be unlocking in a few turns, and it can be a damn fine army all by itself without any attached cores, because it has a command provision of 50, and that gives it a lot of wiggle room. But there's a lot of things I need to do to make such a army form or even work. A lot of things I need for which I can't actually recruit a lot of this turn. One thing that I know for a fact such an army would need is artillery. All my big armies have at least, or typically just, one medium artillery brigade. So I'm actually going to take this medium artillery, or regiment it says here, even though at the bottom it says BDE, and I'm going to drag that here for production in Minsk. And it should finish, I believe, at the exact same time my HQ will unlock. And then he can kind of tow that around with him. Since what I currently lack is war supply, and I don't currently have any decisions or anything to increase war supply, and for a lot of the units I plan on recruiting, what I need is more war supply. For example, cavalry, 15 war supply. All these infantry units require at least some amount of war supply. I'm going to hold on to the war supply that I have right now. Money costs aren't really a problem. Conscripts, not currently a problem. Instead, I'm going to recruit some more kind of auxiliary units for this HQ, so he's kind of up to snuff. So I'm going to, I don't really know where exactly to put these, just because I don't know where he's going to end up shipping out to. Some of these places are dangerously close to a front line, so I'm going to build them more in safety, starting with an engineer over here in Gomel. And we're going to get a signals regiment over here, and we have plenty of money still. Let's go ahead and throw in a hospital with that. Alright, cool, and that's 3 pretty valuable things I think that would help this when he's ready. We're saving some money just so we have enough once the war supply starts pouring in again next turn. And then my goal is to recruit a bunch of Ukrainian infantry since it's in the area. Whether or not that actually goes to him is to be seen. It may just go to the armies on the front line, because a lot of them do have space. I don't mind having the HQ kind of sit around if he needs to, but that's all we can really recruit this turn. So let's get out of here. Now let's go ahead and show some other stuff that's been happening. So we have taken control of Tannenberg. That is a fact. We do need to sit on this until the end of September, because I'll show you again. We have these objectives here, and the enemy has their objectives as well. However, pretty much everything's under this and under this, maybe this, is temporary and just based on the war plans, and after September they will be gone. So they're essentially useful just for gaining some kind of national morale or other victory points by capturing immediately during the time. Now, unfortunately, due to some bad luck, we're not going to get to capture all that much. So Tannenberg, 100%, we will be able to sit on this and flip it all the way to the Eastern Entente, probably by the next turn. There is still some Germans here, but I have what armies can be on the assault, and we're going to sit here and defend it, and we're going to get the points that we need from sitting here. Very little, but it's something. Over here in Gumbinnen, we have some problems. Pretty much every fucking commander I have that's worth a damn, except for these two, are deactivated. So they can't go with me. And I don't believe that just part of this army, without all the cores, really, would be able to get over here. He doesn't have the command points to command the rest of these cores. I don't believe he'd be able to go over here and capture Königsberg by himself. We haven't even actually captured this place yet. We have captured the city, but as you see, the military control of the area still belongs to Germany. It will take 14 days for me just to get over here. That's almost the entire turn. So instead of rushing over here, I might just say, hey, we don't need that initial boost. I'm going to sit down and just try to get full military control over it, so my, or at least most military control, so my supplies can actually pass through. They have moved one of their, looks like their largest force in the area, north, across the river into my territory, which is kind of concerning. I don't believe there's anything over here they want, so I don't know exactly why they're doing this. As a bit of a preventative measure, I'm going to take the airplanes currently on Labao, and I'm going to move them one tile over where they're kind of protected by a river crossing. There is a defense in Labao, but I don't think it's enough to repel this if it decides to go forward into Russia. This is a good time to mention, you see there's now mines all over the place that have spawned. So we have defensive mines that are protecting our waters, as well as the Central Powers has for themselves, and the Western Entente for themselves, which is currently really just France. The Germans have, in fact, begun their invasion into Switzerland. They have managed to capture Basel in the first turn, a level 7 city, which is an oof to lose. It looks like they've also gained control over this city over here, but not the entire area. And that seems to be the worst of the damages. I do wonder if this is all German that just came down here, or if the Austrians have some troops over here too. Because I know the Austrians can definitely get involved over here. I'd love to see Italy get involved sooner rather than later. Open up a new front over here. I know the French troops are kind of on this side. And as we can see, Fort de Nancy is besieged. So it looks like, maybe some of their German offensive. I'm trying to look for any objective cities, see if I can find any, but I'm not really seeing any. Maybe it doesn't show me that over here. But it looks like some of the German offensive has actually not gone into Switzerland, deviated off its path, and gone right for Nancy, a size 2 fort, size 9 city with a depot. I do believe that the French chose to kind of fortify their line here, like these forts. And I do believe Nancy is one of those forts, so that's a good thing. Hopefully the Germans are going to have some troubles over there. Speaking of troubles on our southern border, pretty much any plan for an offensive that we could have had going into northeastern Austria here is pretty much squashed. They have too many troops on our borders. I've taken a peek at all these stacks. These are full armies, absolutely nothing that I can be messing with. And a lot of their targets are locations where now unlocked armies of mine already were. So, for example, over here in Lublin, I have a fair-sized army here, and they are going to sit right where they are. Because they're at kind of a crossroads here, and they're at an objective town for the Central Powers, and right next to a fortified objective town. I was tempted to just kind of hightail it west and defend the fort instead, but it has its own defenses. I'm not too worried about it. I don't think they can get to it that quickly. We can always retreat over there if it looks like, the end is nigh. This fort down here, this border fort, is under attack. Not much I can do about that without putting these two towns at risk. We do have an army back here that is mostly deactivated by the looks of it. I'm putting them all on rail carts, except you, apparently. I forgot to. Most of them are deactivated, but some of them are not. I'm just making sure they're all set up right here. Synchronized movement. So they're going to arrive in probably before the end of the turn. Anyway, they're going to arrive down here to Rawa, Ruska. And they're going to assault the bitch right when they get there if there's anything to assault. And I want to kind of stake a claim right here with this army that isn't in a good position to defend anything, really, but also isn't in a good position to go attacking. I could have tried sending him down here, but the problem is the railroad, The railroad doesn't lead there. This is the closest thing. So I'm going to go into their territory. I'm going to try to stake a claim down there and hope that either, I can claim it and then maybe get down to Lemberg. I believe this was one of my objectives. Yeah, let me take a peek at my strategic. Yeah, this is one of my objectives. If they leave this open, I'll gladly go grab it. But if not, my overall goal is it may slow down their offensive as they try to reshuffle their line because of a Russian offensive pushing the line forward. This army is also in a similar situation. We have a lot of forts right here and an objective town that they are currently sitting on, this army. So I'm going to just have him sit here because there's a whole Austrian army right here that's not looking very friendly. So that's my hopes over there. This area, not a lot I can do to defend it until this guy unlocks. in 3 turns. This area could do something to defend it, right? I do have an army here, and I was tempted to send them maybe to try to deal with this, maybe kind of do a little gangbang over there, but according to my war plans, my initial war plans, Czernowitz is a strategic or objective city until the end of September. We're about to enter September as of the next turn. So rather than fight over Tarnopol, which has absolutely no bearing over the start of the war here, over my war plan, except maybe helping me get to Lemberg, but if this works out well, maybe I still can get to Lemberg, maybe not. I'm pretty confident I can get to Czernowitz at the very least, assault it the moment I get there, and then capture it. I believe we were all walking. There is a railroad, but I wanted the railroad to make a faster offensive here. You see, we have very limited rail capacity because of the initial war plans, but we have gotten 100, and I'm putting it to use. I'd love to rail these guys down here. I just don't think I can right now. But I do believe we will be able to take Czernowitz and eliminate its reserve here pretty easily. At least that's the hope. Across the map in like 3 turns, we have a lot of other armies that will be unlocking, namely up here towards Finland. We have a small army here as well as a corps here that will probably attach to that army. We have other things down here such as this man's army. Yeah, he has some command issues though. And there's also this corps here which will probably attach to his army and use to kind of cut him some slack if possible. If we can't do something with this, what's this called? A brigade? I don't know what they call it anymore, but a group of smaller units here. I'm also going to send down this air balloon that has unlocked down to this army to try to get him a little bit more command points so we can maybe squeeze some more stuff into his army. He's probably going to be shuffled down with this corps to the Austrian frontier. A lot of fighting with Austria. There's all this ripe German land right here, but aside from dealing with everything to the east of this little river here, I hope to keep the fighting with Germany as short and sweet as possible and keep them off my backs. I mean, we're not going to need to capture Königsberg at this rate with how slowly this is going and the terrible activation rolls we're getting. Namely, we're just going to have to deal with this guy right here. Yeah, mainly him. He's going to have to go. He's going to have to die somehow. If he keeps running around back here as we take all this over, he's going to run out of troops anyway. He's not going to be able to recruit anything back here. And I could probably mop the rest of this up with this army here just by itself. As you see, here's another thing that's going to unlock. And here's probably another thing that's going to unlock. Another corps. Yeah, 3 turns. In 3 turns, we get a lot of new units all across the map. Let's take a peek now down at the Serbian front. So, the enemies here have actually retreated, as you can see. Central Power succeeded in retreating before the battle in Zemun, day 13. So their troops were here, and then they've left like a bunch of little bitches. So that's good. What's bad is we found this pretty sizable enemy force up here. This Serbian force, or Austrian, sorry. And it overpowers the Serbian force that we have here. That is guaranteed. It definitely overpowers it with everything that's there. So my goal is to assault the fortifications here, clear out this garrison so that we can start to recover as soon as possible. We will have an advantage if they attack us here, simply because they have to cross a river in order to get here. That will already give us an advantage, which will help, especially if they don't bring all these troops. If they just bring the one on top, the army. But I do believe some of these are their corps that will follow them around, which would be unfortunate to say the least. So my goal is capture Zemun as fast as possible, and then we can defend in this fort of Zemun. That is the hope. In other news, this army, who now I'm kind of wishing that I had left with this army, is still en route to his location. He will get there next turn. He's going to capture this, I believe, no problem, and this will be ours. That's good, and we will have more security on this side of our border. Might push him up here, might try to retreat him this way, depending on how it goes. This army, which is actually 2 armies, you've actually stopped moving. I don't know what happened there. Alright, so they're both definitely set to go the right direction. They'll get around here at the same time. This one's deactivated, which is a bit of an annoyance. We've also just unlocked the Montenegrin army down in Montenegro. And you know what? We're actually probably going to use them as a bit of a defensive force to just hold the line here. Now that I take a peek in here and I see just how many units are defending it, it's quite a lot. This is enough to probably defend anything that comes out of there, but maybe not take the fight to whatever's there. I really want to get... What are you doing in my territory? Get out. I really want to get some units up here, but I don't really have any options right now. These two are down here. I'd love to get one of them up here, like this one right here, this commander whose power is lacking. It could be either one, really. But the road is going to take too long. Like, if I see, it's going to take 17 days. It's more than a turn. Best I can do is push forward here and hope to take something. And with that, I believe we have our turn. So let's go ahead and hit next turn and see how this insanity goes. Oh, I love it. This is going to happen every time I hit next turn. My game freezes, but I'll get to watch the little circle on the numbers go forward on my OBS, which you guys will see just fine. And then when it goes all the way to 15, it's just going to black out on my end. And then it'll refresh, and then we get to actually watch it together. Really weird bug, but not game-breaking by any means. Just a bit of an anomaly. Alrighty, looks like the gears are spinning, and we're about to see what actually happens in this turn. Alright, we see some German army movements headed right towards us. The Austrians are moving in force onto Zamoso Fort, unifying seemingly everything they have into the area here. Good thing I did not send troops down there. And we have a battle here. Another battle in Tannenberg. Looks like against the same enemy unit. Looks like their commander has actually leveled up or something since, but his estimated power has halved, whereas mine is pretty similar. So I think I'm going to go with an all-out infantry assault and try to finally drive him out of here if possible. Fingers crossed, let's go to the battle. And he picked... Oh... I guess this battle was so short that the battle plans didn't actually even get to go through very well. He's lost another near basically 5,000 units, not cutting the rest of his forces in half as they have been left from that last battle. We did lose about 3,000 soldiers ourselves to his 5,000, as well as a couple cavalry there to make up the difference, but I'd say this is definitely a victory on our part. It even said Russian victory. You could see these forces here really massing up. Oh, they're coming right at us. I'm glad that I held position. I think this includes the forces, yeah, that were just across our border, too. I think they're all just running towards us. Oh, shit. Well, they're about to force the issue. Again, glad I stayed put. Okay. This is a... Yeah, if you can call this a victory... We have taken the fort. We have taken this fort here at Zemun, which is good. However, or at least it seems that we have. We've wiped out, or nearly wiped out, everything they've had here in this assault. However, we lost over 16,000 units doing so and 300 cavalry. Maybe I should have waited a little longer. Let's go to the next day. Seems like we've taken it. We can see the Austrians are pushing across our border, straight into our defensive lines. There's also this other Austrian force is moving across the bridge here towards our Serbian force. Ooh. This is, nerve-wracking on my end. Oh, man. Oh, they are amassing their armies here. Yeah, they're going on a full offensive. I'm glad I chose to dig in. We can get some entrenchment bonuses. Our attack, you can see, is getting to ready on Rawa or whatever. But they have troops headed to Rawa, surprisingly. Maybe they were headed to Zamosa. Actually, looks like they went through Zamosa to Rawa. This is going to be interesting. Their armies are arriving at more of my defensive locations. Okay, what's happening? Dubno. Dubno. Okay. Is this Dubno? Dubno? Dubno. This is Dubno. Okay, so one of our defensive armies here is being encountered by large Austrian forces. Looks like we only have one thing we can really do, and that's a balanced battle plan. Our commander's dog shit, quite frankly. He's horrible. We have about as much cavalry as they do. We have almost twice the amount of guns and more than twice the amount of infantry. Hopefully our defensive entrenchments, if we have any, will help us. We have twice their power, although that is not accounting for this army, I don't think, which may come to their aid. But let's cross our fingers. Oh, yeah, they came to their aid, all right. Oh, that hurt. Russian victory, if you can call it that. They went ahead with a harassment plan and the bombard communications again to hurt our ranged factor, which probably to diminish the bonus we have from having more artillery than they did, or better artillery, because it seems like the numbers ended up being the same. Oh, they did because of the reinforcements that they brought into the battle. No entire divisions or anything or corps knocked out of the fight on either side. Man, they brought a lot. 2 entire armies showed up here. We had some planes here, recon planes. I guess I didn't think they'd get attacked so quick, but maybe I should move them next turn. We lost 1,000 cavalry to about 1,000 cavalry, 85 artillery to their about 66 artillery. We lost 41,500 infantry to their 45,000. Again, this is a Russian victory because we held our own and we dealt massive casualties, but this is a hell of a victory, I'll tell you that much. Barely won. We have killed about 1/3 of their attacking force, and they have been rid of about 1/4 of ours. These are massive losses, and it's going to take a lot of conscripts and probably money to actually fix this. But the battles are going to continue. This is not over just yet. The losses will mount up, and who knows how this is going to go. We have another battle here in Gorokov. And that's not here. Not here. It's here. Okay? So it's on the way to Rawaruska. We have an army of about 780 here. God, all of our commanders suck, and all of theirs are so much better. It's so weird. They have more cavalry than we do. We have a little bit more artillery than they do. But we have definitely more infantry. So I'm not too sure about this one, you know. I kind of want to be careful and go with balanced. The AI thinks the best thing to do is infantry assault, but I think I'm going to be a little aggressive but a little cautious and go with the wave assault instead, so that we can have a slight bonus, because these guys don't look that weak to me, but weak enough that we can maybe exploit it here. So let's go ahead and go to the battle. Cross our fingers. Okay, massive losses on each side, so this battle plan failed on round 3. It worked for 1 round, but on round 3, and then we switched to a balanced deployment. I don't know if this countered us or if it was just a bad commander. Probably just a bad commander. We lost 18 guns. They lost 6. We lost 148 cavalry. They lost 1,000, which is good. Seeing as we started out with fairly equal numbers, we started out with twice their infantry. We lost 15,000 of our 133,000. They lost, out of theirs, 63,000. 23,000. So that's good. That's pretty nice. I'd say that went well enough, right? We can't hope for a perfect KDR here or anything, but I'd say that went well enough. Okay. Looks like our other army that I sent forward here went as expected, bum rushed right into Czernowitz, assaulted the moment he got there, lost 2,000 units, 406 cavalry, but killed 18,000 defending units, completely wiping out one of the garrison units altogether. It doesn't look like it was enough to actually take the location, but it seems to have forced a retreat of some kind, which is good. Oh, and another assault, so I was right, it did not actually take the location, but now it looks like we may have? I don't know anymore. We dealt another 5,000 casualties, barely any of our own. Looks like they still hold it, though. It looks like it still belongs to them. So over here at Dubno, where we've already been defending this objective town with everything we have, the enemies are going to put on another offensive, by the looks of it. At least I think it's them attacking. I can only really do a balanced deployment, as you can see. So, because their commander's just better than mine, mine doesn't know enough, I don't know. We still have a little more. We have one more artillery group than they do. Same amount of cavalry still, but we still have a numerical infantry advantage. Smaller now that they've unified their units together here. Let's cross our fingers, hope for the best. Okay. This time we took more casualties than them in every single area, by small amounts comparatively. It is still a Russian victory because we still held our own. No divisions or corps wiped out anywhere, but we held our own again. Hopefully we're burning through their supplies. That's the hope. And with that turn, the front lines are most certainly drawn. A huge battle is raging. Austrians are going super hard on trying to fight us over in Russia. Many losses on both sides. It's been a heck of an exciting turn, and I hope you guys are enjoying this war now that it's kicked off with such a bang. That's a full episode for now though, so let me know what you guys think about everything that's been going on in the comments. I'll see you on the next one.